Welcome to But Jesus Drank Wine.
And other stories that kept us stuck. I'm Meade.
And I'm Christy.
In this podcast, we'll explore the stories that kept us, well, stuck, wanting to drink and not wanting to drink all at the same time.
Join us as we show you that freedom from alcohol does not have to mean a life sentence of misery and missing out,
but actually means living an authentic life full of peace, joy, and purpose. So you just had a fun weekend celebrating your 40th birthday that's almost here. So it's not officially your birthday yet, but you're in celebration mode, which, by the way, I was just going to say, like, it actually was my birthday Saturday. 42, not 40. But yeah.
Babe, you didn't tell me.
I know. I did not tell you.
Oh my gosh. Happy birthday.
Thanks.
Wait, so now I'm going to mark it in my calendar. So November
19th.
What was that?
19th.
Okay. Oh, babe, I'm sorry. I didn't know. We're so close. I'm just November 19th. You're November 19th. That's amazing.
I know. So I thought it'd be really fun if we could talk about birthdays today and what they look like, alcohol-free or free from alcohol, however, or sober, whatever we want to call it.
Yeah.
But the difference between what I always envisioned for my, like, say, 40th birthday, like you're experiencing, and what really, my 40th birthday was in the middle of COVID, by the way.
Yeah.
So it was in 2020. So it was a little bit different, but I'd love to hear about how you did it this year and what it looked like for you this weekend.
Yeah, it was so fun. So, yeah, as you said, I completely pictured like a 40th birthday back in the drinking days as something completely different. It was like something that I talked about, like, what am I going to do? Let's go to Ibiza. Let's do a massive party. Like, at one point I was like, I wonder if there's a way I could get all my London friends to LA and have a massive party in LA and like all this stuff. And so I also think there's so much pressure around 40th, you know? And so it was like, oh my gosh. Then I was like, I have to have a party. Like, I have to do something big. I've got to have the Instagram moment to share with the world that I am 40. So when I was like, kind of like thinking about all this stuff, I was like, you know what? What do I really want to do? What do I really, really want to do? What do I want to do? Not for the gram, not for what like everybody tells me that I have to do, but like, what do I want to do? And it really was just about like a few things that were separate with the people that I love the most. And so the thing I was telling you about over the phone earlier is just, my 8 closest kind of girlfriends here in London surprised me. And they took me out to tea at a really beautiful hotel here in London. And then we walked around the corner. They surprised me and we saw Moulin Rouge, the Broadway show. So it was so fun. But it was so funny in like getting ready for the night, not knowing what was going on and whatever. I had this moment where I was sitting at my computer and I was working, and I like this thought popped into my head of like, oh, I should eat something. And then I thought to myself, why am I, it's because I used to think I'm going out for a party. I need to coat my stomach. Right.
Yes. And oh my gosh.
I don't have to do that.
Yay!
I don't have to have a piece of bread right now so that I don't pass out after the first drink.
Oh my gosh. How often do I have that same thought? I catch myself and I'm like, and it's the best like celebration moment. I'm like, oh, I don't have to do that anymore. Hallelujah. So good. I love that.
And the other one too that was so good was I actually had something at my daughter's school on the Sunday. And before, like it would, the next day after a night out would be a write-off. And so I would have been panicking, trying to get out of it, trying to figure out if like my husband, Chris, can maybe go by himself. And I didn't have to do any of that. So it was just so nice. And I think it was because it was like kind of my celebration. I just had all these major realizations. I've had little ones and going out here and there, but I was just like, oh, that's so good. That's so good. But yeah, so
I love that so much.
That was my girlfriends. And then I'm going to meet my best friend since we were 15. We're going to meet in New York in a couple weeks. And then actually me and my little family of 4, we rented a little cottage in the Cotswolds. So we're going to do that for my actual 40th birthday weekend. I wanted like a roaring fire and I wanted to cuddle my dog and my kids and just get out of the city. And and watch
Oh
like
my
good movies,
gosh.
like, you know, The Holiday and Love Actually and all that good stuff. So I'm really excited. I'm so excited.
I
Yeah.
love that so much. I can relate to that. That's what everyone's like, what do you want to do for your birthday this past weekend? And in the past, and even like for my 40th, we had a plan. Like that was when we were going to go to Napa and Sonoma. That was
Yeah.
the plan. And then
Yeah.
and that was actually going to be in April. My birthday's in November, and so the plan was we had the trip all planned. We had like a deposit put down, like it was all ready to go for April of 2020. And then COVID changed that. But when we planned it, I wasn't free from alcohol yet. And so that was one of those interesting things that as it kind of came around and then it wasn't even an option because of COVID. I did think, I was like, well, now I'm free from alcohol. Like, would I still go?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? I think it's gonna be beautiful. I'll be with my friends. It'll be amazing. I'll be the DD. Like, that'll be awesome. We won't have to worry about how we're getting home. And it was, gonna be just a bunch of us couples. And then COVID changed that for us. And then I was also like, you know what? Like, that's a long ways to go and a lot of money. And you know, like, and then if people are, drinking too much, then I will probably get annoyed at some point, and I will be wanting to like go to bed and get a good night's rest. So maybe what I would want to do there would be different than what everybody else would be wanting to do. And so it was one of those that circumstances definitely changed it for us, but also then, coming around to November in 2020, I had just launched my coaching business, and everything, like, life had never been better. And so when Todd was like, well, what do you want to do for your 40th? I was like, we couldn't really go anywhere anyway. I can't imagine anything better than just being here with y'all, doing nothing, watching UVA basketball, because basketball season starts right around now. And so to fast forward to this past weekend with my birthday, like, what do you want to do for your birthday? Like, I want a fire. So it's like a fire in the fireplace. I want UVA basketball on the TV. I don't even care. Like, in the past, like, I've been really like, I want this for dinner, and I want this, whatever. I was like, I don't even care. Like, but after a stressful past 3 weeks or so, what I was really mostly looking forward to is just, having nothing to do and relaxing and resting and just being with my family. And it's always so surprising to me how enjoyable just that is. Like, again, air quotes, just that.
Totally agree.
The big, I didn't take a shower on Saturday. I didn't leave the house. I was in my pajamas all day. We had fires. We had movies. It was lovely. And so I can totally appreciate, like, doing what we want to do, not based on what those expectations are or perceived expectations for, like, what the world tells us we should do, or what is, social media savvy, or expectations of what you can post for social media and all of that. So
it's so true. And you know what?
So
I also thought, which you brought up too, is like, I wouldn't, and this sounds so bad, but I'm just going to be 100% honest here. Like, I didn't want to hang out with my kids when I was drinking. You know what? I really didn't. Like, I liked them kind of in doses, but now I really enjoy them. And I really, really enjoy just like being with them. And obviously no one's perfect. And obviously they're annoying sometimes, and I snap at them, and I'm not like the perfect mother, but I just really want to be with them. And, like we've talked about, we're going to do an episode maybe at a later time about what kids can pick up on and what they don't pick up on and all this stuff. But I can tell that they know that they're important, and that, like, my birthday is really about, like, them getting to also, like, celebrate me, which is so special, which is not what the focus was before, right? The focus was, like, get in a party dress, look hot, go out all night, like, post a bunch of pictures on Instagram, make it look
spend a lot of money
and amazing, spend a lot of money. And now it's just like, it's not about that anymore, right? It's just about, like, peace and just,
I'm so glad you said that because we for sure that is. I remember thinking at some point, it's like, am I the only one that doesn't want to spend time with my child? It's like, it was that, again, that
Yeah.
conflict of like, I want to spend time with my children, but
Yeah.
I also really wanted to, you know, keep up this appearance of this like wonderful life I was living. And even though
Yeah.
I had really been on social media for a little bit in that time, like leading up to that, it was a lot driven by what I could post on social media. And I think that kind of going back to, what we talked about before is like, it's like the distraction that even if it's not just the time that drinking that it takes away, but it's the distraction when you feel that conflict within yourself, that becomes something that's distracting. So like the way you want to live and the way that you're living, or you want to be drinking, you don't want to be drinking, or you want to spend time with your kids, but you really are feeling like maybe you don't. And it's amazing to me still to this day how freedom from alcohol has changed that desire for me. Like it's now where I actually do enjoy spending time with them because I don't have this like inner voice that's like, well, you should be, what about your social life? What about this and what your birthday should look like? All the shoulds that come along with that. Like it can just be whatever it is, which is time together. And like we have our, it's not like beautiful rainbows and unicorns over here all the time, but
Yeah.
but there's just laughter and joy and peace that comes from just being together in a way that all the expectation the other way, and then the drinking to manage the noise of all the expectation, I think was a big one for me. So noticing that difference is huge.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so, so true. And I think just, I mean, I'm assuming we'll get like really into the nitty gritty of like fun and the belief that alcohol brings fun and is fun and needs to be a part of anything for it to be fun. It's something that like was the one that I held on to it the longest. But it's like once you get a few nights out or a few events or whatever, what have you under your belt and realize that you can have fun, that you can laugh. Like I remember the first night that I went out on a double date with another couple, and I remember having an out of body experience. It sounds so cheesy, but it's true. Laughing and like really, really laughing and thinking to myself, oh my gosh, like I'm laughing and I'm not drinking and I'm actually like happy and I'm smiling and I'm laughing. Oh my gosh, look, it's possible. You know what I
Oh
mean?
my gosh. Oh my gosh. So true. I know what that like experience is of kind of like hovering above, like where you're like, wow, is this actually happening? That I'm here, I'm laughing, I'm having fun. And there's not that that tension that otherwise exists or I guess, I mean, I keep saying distraction, but that's where the pain clearly was for me. Cause I'm like, it was the distraction of thinking about like,
Yeah.
what are we going to drink next? Or where are we going to go next? Or what are we going to do? And then the relief that came from like, oh, I can still have fun. I can still be fun. I'm laughing. I'm still light and, enjoying the conversation and making other people laugh. Oh, okay. And that's where I think it's so cool to see. I like literally can picture our little neural pathways in our brain, like lighting up as they're changing in those moments. And that's so huge to the journey, like kind of locking that in is like, oh, wow, this is something that was unexpected.
Yeah, totally. And when you learn, I think too, when you really learn the science behind what alcohol is doing to your brain, and you know that you really only have that 20-minute high, and you know that it drops you low, and you know that you're constantly chasing that first drink kind of high, like that for me too was like a game changer because I was like, oh my gosh, yes, that was me. I was just constantly chasing the numbness or chasing the buzz and all of that stuff. And now too, when you go out and you see it in action, I've seen it in action. The first time I saw it in action was we hosted Easter at my house. Like whenever a few months after I stop drinking, and I saw it. You know, I saw everyone like laughing and giddy, and then I saw everyone like kind of get more grouchy and then keep drinking, and then like ups and downs, but like lower and lower and lower. And you really do see that when you're out now. And so it's like, what, you know, what is the point? What is the point? Like, we're doing all of this, like, to your point of the mental real estate and dealing with the voices in your head, all for a 20-minute, like, quote unquote, here, now I'm doing the air quotes, a high. Like, what
Mm-hmm.
what?
Yeah, that high that then, because you've created that, like to your point, you keep chasing. The next drink is an attempt to get there, but you're never going to get to that point again. And it just is, it's like kind of like the definition of insanity, trying the same thing over and over again, you know, and it not working. But you're right. It's like that. It's like that fly. Like I one of my favorite games now, going out and just kind of wherever I am, observing as a fly on the wall. Like, I get to be the fly on the wall. That it's so fascinating to me, because I can see that exact thing that you just talked about. I can see that happen in other people. That change, that shift, you know, the fact that alcohol is an upper and a downer, like the stimulant and a depressant all at the same time, and seeing that chemical change, you know, that chemical reaction take place in other people. I mean, it's heartbreaking to me, because I'm like, oh gosh, like nothing good will come from that, you know, but also it's, thank goodness I don't have to do that anymore. Thank goodness we redefined like the definition of fun, which I think is something
That's exactly what I was just going to say. Yeah.
So it's like, you know, we have this idea of what fun is, and it's always just had alcohol as a part of fun. But if you really like ask someone to define, like, what is the rubric for what, you know, marking something as a fun occasion or not, or a fun experience or not, like what would be those things that would have to be a part of that to qualify it as fun? We talk a lot about like fun, and it is kind of just this arbitrary thing, but getting like kind of clued in on what fun is. I never thought that sitting at home on a Friday night with a fire, watching basketball with my family for my birthday, like that was the most fun experience for me this past weekend even. What about you? Like that definition of fun, how has it kind of shifted for you over, what would be the qualifiers for it now?
Well, I mean, I think a big part of it always for me is like, I'm bringing it back to sleep, because I really, really need sleep. And if I'm like, I have a lack of sleep, then nothing is fun. Meade, nothing is fun for me at all when I'm tired. So for me,
I have no idea what you're talking about over here. So similar. Ask my husband; he will tell you.
40th, ask mine too. Yeah, exactly. So like, we're talking about 40th birthdays. I feel like now we're really old because we're talking about fun means sleep. But it has to be early. It has to be early, which was what was so great about these girlfriends of mine that planned this night out. Like, they definitely, it was like tea and a show. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so it wasn't going to be an all night thing. And it was so funny. They told my 12-year-old daughter what I was doing, and she was like, "Don't worry, Mom. You're not going to the club." It's like, I wouldn't think that I would be going to the club anymore with what these girls are planning, because they know me and they know I don't do the club anymore.
Yes.
But I just like being with people, right? The thing is that you redefine fun, as you said. And so it's doing something that where you're practicing self-care, I think, while you're enjoying yourself, which means you're going to be able to get the proper rest, which means you're being with people that you actually enjoy being with, as opposed to making small talk with people at a bar or at a party, right? And yeah, I don't know. Like, I love being home. I love going out, but I also love being home, and I didn't love being home before. So that's a big one for me.
That I was just going to say, the fact that, like if I had described, so if my 35-year-old self knew that on her 42nd birthday, she was going to be sitting at home with a fire, having not showered all day, watching basketball and then football later. But, you know, with the kids and the dog and like nothing fancy. Like we had, in the past it would have had to have been like the fanciest meal too. I had my husband do pizzas on the egg because the kids, I was like, I don't care what we're eating. It's just about us being together. In the past, it would have been having the perfect food and the perfect wine and the perfect outfit and the perfect setting and the perfect group and the perfect experience. And it's just, there's so much freedom in not being controlled by those unconscious expectations that we carry for ourselves and in maybe the purpose of like what we're projecting out to the world. And so, 35-year-old Meade would have laughed hysterically and said, it better not look like that on your 42nd birthday. Like it better not look like that. And even my 40th is, I don't even really like, it was much the same. And it was okay. Now, if I had been more rested, if we hadn't just had the craziest, 3 weeks, with some situations here, I might have, wanted to go do something else. But my birthday is always right by Thanksgiving too, which always makes it tricky for celebrating. But yeah, it's redefining fun. And at the very least, and this is what I recommend to clients all the time, is it's like we believe these stories that we tell ourselves that like fun is had with wine. Like I can't imagine having fun without it. We have these stories and they're so deeply ingrained. They feel really, really true. So they just are. But then when you get curious about, like, I would say like the first part of it is, how do you define fun? Like what makes something fun? And I find that most people can't answer that. They don't really know what fun is. It's just that, oh, well, but wine is part of that, or, the part, whatever. So kind of, just getting curious, like what would be your definition of fun? My definition of fun, like yours, also includes a good night's sleep, because I know that I feel better if I've gotten good sleep. And the one thing that killed my sleep was that giant sugar and alcohol dump that was wine in the evenings. And then what does that look like for the next day too? So in lieu of the night out at the club and then having to like clear your schedule the next day, how long does the so-called fun, air quotes, last? Maybe for that 20 minutes, maybe.
Yeah. And I think that it's so true. And I think that, we find so much of ourselves in like living alcohol free. And so I think that's part of the scary part, right? Like I've coached quite a few women who on, let's say, a discovery call or something, say, it's my 40th coming up, it's my best friend's 40th coming up, my sister's 40th, blah, 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 so many 40th. So I can't start yet, And so it's like, it's one of those things where, well, as we know, like there will always be something. There will always be something coming up. So like there's never like a really good time to start. But where I was trying to go with this is that I don't think we really necessarily like know ourselves and what we do think is fun until we like take a leap and like try like life alcohol free. It's so interesting because I also know I never would have told you that I thought exercise, for example, was fun. I thought exercise was punishment for eating food.
Same. So, eating or drinking too much. Yes. Agreed. Yeah. That's why I did it.
And so it was actual torture. And now it's, I've picked up stuff like there's a sport over here. It's not as big in the US yet, but it's getting there. It's called paddle. It's a combination of like tennis and squash, and it's so much fun. And I play it 2 mornings a week with girlfriends at 8 a.m. And that is so much fun because we laugh. We're not like super good, but we can play matches. And that to me is fun, and that I never would have thought that before, but I also never would have been in the position before to get up and go and play paddle at 8 a.m.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So true. And you're so right. It's, I remember my mom got a beach house. I guess it was over Christmas. I don't know, within the last couple of years since I've been free from alcohol. And what that would have looked like before would have been, revolved around like making sure we had enough wine. And when we could, as long as we were at the beach, like you can drink anytime as long as you're at the beach, but preferably like not until lunchtime, like you start, to drink at lunch. And I remember going on, this trip a couple of years ago, and what I found fun on that trip, being free from alcohol, was jumping on the beach cruisers. And in South Carolina, you can ride your bike on the beach because the sand is so packed, so compact. Riding my beach cruiser bicycle on, and it reminded me and getting up early and doing it, and I mean doing it all day. That would have absolutely interfered with all the things before, and it reminded me of being a child and jumping on my bike. And I loved bike riding. It was jumping on a beach cruiser and cruising around was my favorite thing to do. That's what was fun. I did have fun before alcohol came into my life. We all did. And it's, sometimes thinking about like, what were those things that were fun? And then, to your point, oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. Not the game that you just said. What did you call it? Paddle.
Oh.
But the game that's really popular over here now.
Pickleball.
Thank you.
Pickleball.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that hasn't made it over here yet.
That's what it reminded me of, that you said that. And then I could not for the life of me think of the name of it. But setting that up in our driveway and playing that, like that is so much on a Sunday afternoon with my kids when it's nice out. That is my idea of fun. Whereas in the past, it would have been like, y'all go play and we'll be sitting here listening to music, having our cocktails. But I think about too the expectation that comes for and I wonder if it's a social media. I mean, I think a lot of it is a social media influence, but I was just even thinking about like, we talk about like 40th birthdays and that expectation, like it's a big birthday and what are you going to do? Like there is this expectation, with my daughter going to homecoming for the first time as a freshman in high school, like now there's this whole like, you do a post, the boy does a poster and surprises, and you do bouquets and not corsages. Like there's a pre-party, there's a post-party, there are all these things. Like when did it become that everything had to be, there was this expectation of like, if you're doing it right, it's gotta be big. What do you think?
Yeah, no, it's so true. Yeah, no, I totally see what you're saying. And I have no idea what the answer to that is, but I was going to say that even, when I'm working on, like I was working on stuff for my website today and for social media stuff or for the coaching. And I was trying to find a picture of first Christmas, like I needed a Christmas stock image, right? For something I was working on. And I could not, oh no, sorry, excuse me. It was Thanksgiving. I was doing Thanksgiving tips and I could not find one Thanksgiving image that didn't have a full glass of wine in it. And then I moved on to Christmas and I couldn't find a Christmas stock image. I mean, I could, but it took a while, right? And then the other one, to our point of this, is that I typed in girlfriends because I wanted a picture of some girlfriends. And guess what? It was all girlfriends with glasses of wine. So when does it start? I don't know, but it is hammered into us from the word go that it needs to be big and it needs to be perfect and it needs to involve booze.
Yeah. And if you're not having fun, you're doing something wrong. I think that was something that was really confusing to me. Looking back, I can see that idea of like, there must be something wrong with me if I'm not having fun or, having fun with my kids, like, or not wanting to have fun with them in that way. Like there must be something wrong with me if this life that I do have a good life. Like, don't get me wrong. I don't, have huge problems, right? But like, if it's not fun, then if you're not happy all the time, if it's not fun all the time, then there must be something wrong with us. I wonder how much of that kind of narrative also influences. I mean, I know it did for me. I know it does for a lot of people, but I wonder like where that, I just like, has that always been the case? I don't know that my I don't know that my parents experienced that same kind of level of messaging, but perhaps they did. It's
Yeah.
just maybe technology being, it's in our faces now, right? Like all the time. So maybe the
Yeah.
exposure to it.
Yeah. It's so true. It's so true. Um, and, and yeah, just, and I think that it's, I always come back to whenever I'm in a place where I'm like, oh gosh, I missed so much with my kids when I was drinking. I come
Mm.
back to I come back to the whole thing of they get to see what I'm doing now, right? And they get to see this journey that I'm on now. And so I think what we're kind of doing for our kids is hopefully not reinforcing this idea that you need to have alcohol for their, in their cases, does that make sense? To have fun,
Yeah.
and like you don't
Yes.
like I can celebrate a birthday without alcohol, just like when you're able to drink, you don't have to either.
Yes. Well, gosh, I hope so, because for sure that is something that or never planting those seeds in the first place, or undoing the societal conditioning that does send those messages. I hope that that's one of the benefits that they get, and because they do see. I remember vividly my son. So I guess this was 3 years ago. He's 12. Quick math, 9. So like shortly after I'd found freedom from alcohol, he's like, Mom, he's like, you're just happy. You're just like happy
Yeah.
all the time. And it's not, I wasn't happy all the time, but what he was noticing was, I was like, well, what do you mean by that? Like, what does that look like? And he's like, I don't know. It's just like, you're just, I think what he was trying to say is that like everything was lighter, and I wasn't snapping. I wasn't irritable. I mean, I have my moments, right? But there wasn't that low grade irritability that just kind of was like a dark storm cloud all, over top of us at all times. There was this sense of happiness that came from finding freedom from something that was, getting in the way. And so that is, to me, like an example of what fun is now, is having my kid, like, see that in me, and him learning, like, to me, that's fun. Seeing my kid believe and see that, like, you don't need alcohol to have fun. To me, that's my new definition of fun.
Yeah. I love that you always say low grade irritability, because I feel like mine was definitely not. My irritability was not low grade. I think I had high grade irritability when I was drinking.
That's my description. Let's get Todd on here and let's ask him. I think he would also describe it as high grade irritability all the time. But see, but like, were you, like, how well did you hide that from the outside world? Like, being the people pleaser, being the tap dancer performer, like, I mean, I could turn it on and turn it off. So it was just reserved for my people. What about you?
Yeah. Oh no, I don't think nobody in the outside world saw. I mean, Chris probably definitely would describe it as a high grade irritability, and so would my kids, but nobody else would have. Yeah, totally. Yeah. But also, I think that like what we're saying is, like, because like living alcohol free has brought more fun in our day-to-day everyday life, there's also there's less pressure to make things like a 40th birthday or a milestone birthday or an anniversary or a wedding or whatever it is that you have. There's less pressure, right? It's like, I'm experiencing fun today sitting in my gym kit chatting with you, so there's not like all this pressure to have this one big massive blowout fun situation, because I'm experiencing fun every day in my life. And I just literally thought of that as we were talking, and it's so good, right? Like, it's just, it takes the pressure off.
That could not be more true. It's the fun in, like, contentment. Like, I never thought that content would be a feeling associated with fun, like that I would describe contentment as fun. But to your point, when you're not experiencing those extreme highs and those extreme lows, and then there's this, roller coaster of ups and downs that goes along with that. Like, day to day, not living for the weekends. I mean, we lived for the weekends before. It was like, put your head down, grind it out during the week,
I
eat
love that.
healthy, hit the gym, be like, rigid control rules, whatever. And then if we could just make it to the weekend. And the same for vacations or big birthdays. And you're right. Like that's a big part, I think, of what influences that idea of like, we have to save it all up for this, one big time. And so we are operating on that, like the extreme highs and lows. Whereas in day-to-day life, I mean, fun now is getting out the little gymnastics ribbons and throwing on a little, what is it? Imagine Dragons that my kids like. I don't know, whatever that song is, but throwing that on and having a little dance party that never would have appealed to me as part of fun. But like, that's a 20-minute like thing of fun that, has a much better benefit long-term, but experiencing those little moments, sitting here talking to you, it doesn't have to be the big stuff when you're just kind of getting it and just constantly.
Yeah.
Such a good point.
Yeah. No, and it is, and it's so true. And like, I don't want to discourage anybody that if they're like wanting to have a massive birthday, like, and have a big party, like that's also like totally go for it. Like, and also I think we don't think like, we don't realize that there are so many, at least I didn't. It took me a minute to realize that there actually are so many things that are enjoyable in life that don't involve drinking. And so like, as women, like we can always go to the spa. The spa is fun. We can always go and get our nails done, have a manicure with a girlfriend. We can always go on a walk. Like we can always go to the movies. Like all these things that you just kind of forget about that you can do without alcohol that are so enjoyable. Like any kind of like sports that you actually enjoy that you're not doing as punishment. All of this stuff is actually so enjoyable. And so there are like so many options. Like you have something big coming up that you can do. And if you live in a big city like I do, like we have the theater over here, which is always so fun, which is what we ended up doing. And yeah, it's so cool. It's so cool. I love that you brought up contentment, because it's something that I have had to like really pray about being, is like, God, just make me content. Like make me stop striving, make me stop wanting more all the time, wanting more and wanting, different and bigger and better. And I don't think I could have I don't think I could have become content unless I quit drinking. I know that I couldn't, right? Because it was just, you were never in a place of peace. So how could you be content? Right?
Totally. Yeah. That's why I like to say like trading, my desire for wine for desire for the vine. I mean, truly that contentment that comes from the contentment, the fulfillment that comes through Christ as being something that does sustain, whereas what we're looking for from wine or anything else that's getting in our way, that's short-lived. It's temporary. It's it doesn't last. And so finding that, seeing the difference in that's something that I would have rolled my eyes 4 years ago at anybody who had said that. So if you're rolling your eyes right now while you're listening, I hear you. That is exactly what I would have done too. But it's crazy how like it's true, and thinking about like how like if the big party is still like your thing, by all means, like do whatever. But maybe I would say like get curious about like who are you doing it for? Like who are you drinking for? Like maybe who are you doing the party for? Who are you doing anything for? Is it for, what you want and aligned with what you value? Or is it because of some unconscious expectation or tether you have to somebody or something else out there, the world's expectation of what things should look like. So just
so good. And I also think that so much of it too is like not even about what you're doing or how you're celebrating, but I'm sure you probably relate. I feel like turning 40, I'm excited. Like someone said to me the other day, like the best is yet to come. And that's like such a a thing that you throw around when people turn a milestone birthday, but I really do believe it. Like, I really do believe that the best is yet to come. I really do believe that I have so much more in me. And now that I have found like my purpose, which is like helping women like you, like break free from alcohol, it's exciting to turn a milestone age. It's not scary. It doesn't feel like, I mean, apart from the wrinkles, which, those are fun, but, but it's not scary. It truly feels like something to celebrate. It feels like something to acknowledge the growth of what we've been through and how far we've gotten. And that definitely wouldn't have been in the equation before. Before it would have been like, let's go out and party our butts off and try not to think about the fact that like we've gotten older.
Yeah. And then, what things will we need to do to start keeping up, like to not age, to try to fight against, decline into old age. But you're so right. And that Maverick City music song, it keeps getting better. You keep getting better. That's what that has been I heard that early on in my freedom from alcohol journey. And I feel like that has been the theme of my life since then. As I've aged, as I'm, doing more and collecting pages and pages of things that I get to find freedom from as a result of first finding freedom from alcohol, it just keeps getting better. And that's something that I thought you hit 40 and it's just all over from there. And I feel younger and more expansive and joyful. And I feel young. It's crazy. I feel younger. I'm like,
me too.
Am I really 42? Me too. I mean, I know I look it, but I don't feel it. I feel better now at 42 than I did at 32, maybe even 22. So
I totally agree.
It's like kind of the best kept secret that like, it's the like aging in reverse secret. You just find freedom from alcohol, not just remove it from your body and experience like the physical benefits, to which there are many, but like the contentment and the joy and the peace and all that comes from being able to just show up the way you want to show up. And it just keeps getting better. So
I love that. Let's link that song in the show notes. If we're allowed, I'm assuming we're allowed to do that, but let's link that Maverick City music song because that's such a good one. And that can be a good one for you new gals to listen to.
Yes.
And I also think like to wrap us up too, I think when you hit this age, you don't have to worry about what other people think as much, which is so freeing, right? Like as much as we were saying, we had to do this and that and the other for other people and for the gram and all this stuff, you get to a point too where you're like, when you do find peace and when you do find what you enjoy and when you do find joy in the everyday, like the having to drink for other people's stuff just like evaporates, which is pretty much magical in my opinion.
Amen. So true. Who would have ever thought? It's absolutely. So good. So good.
Well,
Girl, this is so fun.
Happy 42nd to you. I'm sorry that I missed it, but now I will never do that again.
Well, and happy 40th ongoing for you. So exciting.
Thank you so much for joining us again this week. You can find all of our episodes at butjesusdrankwine.com and make sure you follow us over on the gram at butjesusdrankwine.
To learn more about what we do, you can visit our websites at meadhollandshirley.com and lovelifesober.com.
Take a screenshot of this podcast and share it with a friend or two.
And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast so you don't have to worry about missing a single episode. And if you love what we're doing, please leave us a review on Apple or Spotify.
This helps more women who are feeling stuck and alone in the overdrinking cycle to find hope and encouragement.
Thanks, ladies. We so appreciate you. We'll see you next week.
Bye.